Marcus Chen had always been the guy who fixed coffee machines and recalibrated environmental systems. The kind of maintenance worker who kept massive starships running while everyone else got the glory. He never expected that sitting in the wrong chair during a routine repair would make him the most feared commander in 3 galactic sectors. What happens when a human stumbles into a command position meant for the galaxy's most elite warriors? What happens when that same human refuses to back down, even when facing impossible odds? Some mistakes change everything. Some mistakes save the universe. This is the story of the day humanity accidentally became the apex predator of space. Marcus Chen wiped grease from his hands with a rag that had seen better decades. The environmental control panel on Deck 12 sparked again, throwing blue light across his weathered face. 23 years maintaining starships, and the damn thing still found new ways to break. The USS Meridian stretched around him like a metal city. Home to 12,000 souls, humans and aliens alike, drifting through the Kepler Nebula on what Command called a diplomatic mission. Marcus called it expensive babysitting. The ship carried ambassadors from 17 species, all trying to hash out some trade agreement that would probably fall apart in 6 months. He pulled another burnt circuit board from the panel. The thing reeked of ozone and failure. Above him, the ventilation system hummed its mechanical lullaby. This was his world. Circuits and coolant lines. Problems with solutions. Unlike politics. Chen to engineering, he spoke into his comm unit. Environmental control is fried on 12. Need a replacement board. Static answered him. Then, more static. Chen to engineering, do you copy? Nothing. Marcus frowned. Comms had been spotty all morning. Something about interference from the nebula. He'd have to trek down to engineering himself. Joy. The corridor outside thrummed with activity. A group of Altarian diplomats glided past, their crystalline forms chiming softly as they moved. They ignored him completely. To them, he was furniture. Background noise in their grand cosmic opera. 2 decks down, Marcus took a wrong turn. The Meridian was massive enough that even veteran crews sometimes got lost. He found himself in a section he'd never seen before. The walls here were different. Darker metal. Thicker. Military grade. A door slid open as he approached. Motion sensors, probably. Inside, the room was dim and circular, dominated by a single chair in the center. The chair was beautiful in a deadly way. Black metal and flowing curves, like someone had weaponized art. Displays ringed it in a perfect circle, all dark. Fancy, Marcus muttered. He'd seen command chairs before, but this one was different. More aggressive. The kind of seat where people made decisions that ended civilizations. Probably some ceremonial thing for the diplomatic meetings. Marcus approached the chair, curious. His fingers traced along its armrest. The metal was warm to the touch and hummed with barely contained energy. Intricate patterns were etched into every surface. Not decorative, functional. This thing was packed with tech he couldn't even identify. His comm unit crackled. All hands, this is the captain. Report to stations. We have an unidentified contact approaching. Marcus started to leave, then stopped. His toolkit sat heavy on his hip. The chair's base showed access panels. Hidden, but there. His trained eye spotted them immediately. One panel hung slightly open, revealing a mess of optical cables underneath. Unbelievable, he said. Even the fancy chairs broke down. Marcus knelt and pulled out his diagnostic scanner. The readings made him whistle. This thing ran on power levels that could fry a small city. Several cables showed stress fractures. Whoever maintained this equipment was either incompetent or overworked. Probably both. Marcus began disconnecting damaged cables. The work was delicate. One wrong move and he'd probably blow a hole in the deck. He'd just started splicing a new connection when alarms started screaming throughout the ship. The lights dimmed to emergency red. Then, something impossible happened. The chair activated. Displays burst to life around Marcus in a perfect circle of light and data. The chair's systems hummed louder, harmonizing with the ship's alarms. Information flooded the screen's tactical displays, ship schematics, weapons status. All in languages he didn't recognize. What the hell? Marcus tried to stand, but the chair had other ideas. Metal restraints slid out and locked around his arms and legs. Not tight enough to hurt, but firm enough to keep him in place. The back of the chair pressed against his spine, and suddenly, his mind exploded with information. Not his information. Someone else's. Images flooded his consciousness. Star charts spanning galaxies. Battle formations involving thousands of ships. Weapons that could crack planets. The knowledge hit him like a freight train, and Marcus understood with crystal clarity that he was not supposed to be here. This wasn't just any command chair. This was a hegemony war throne. The displays shifted, showing the space around the meridian. 3 massive ships hung in the darkness beyond the nebula. Ships that made the meridian look like a toy. Their hulls were angular and predatory, covered in weapon arrays that could turn asteroids into dust. Korthak hegemony vessels. The most feared military force in known space. Marcus tried to process what he was seeing. The Korthaks were supposed to be neutral. That was the whole point of this diplomatic mission. 17 species coming together to establish trade routes through hegemony space. The alternative was a war that would consume half the galaxy. But neutral forces didn't travel in war formations. One of the displays began flashing. Text appeared in Basic Common, the universal trade language. Hegemony War Prime Korvash demands immediate surrender of vessel Meridian. All occupants will be processed as prisoners of war. Resistance will result in total destruction. Marcus stared at the message. Processed as prisoners of war was hegemony speak for slavery. 12,000 people. Men, women, children. All about to become property of the most brutal empire in the galaxy. Son of a bitch, Marcus whispered. He tried again to free himself from the chair, but the restraints held firm. Worse, he could feel the chair's systems interfacing with his nervous system. Information continued flowing into his mind: tactical procedures, command protocols, weapon specifications. The chair was teaching him how to use it. Why the hell was there a hegemony war throne on a diplomatic vessel? Another display activated. This one showed the Meridian's bridge. Captain Rodriguez stood at her command station, face pale as reports flooded in from her crew. The ship's shields were down for maintenance. Weapons were offline for the diplomatic mission. They were defenseless. Captain, came a voice from the comm system. Hegemony ships are powering weapons. They're targeting our engines. Rodriguez closed her eyes. Marcus knew what she was thinking. The same thing any reasonable captain would think. Surrender and hope for the best. Try to negotiate. Buy time and pray for a miracle. But Marcus had access to information Rodriguez didn't have. The chair was showing him things. Hegemony battle doctrine. Their ship's weaknesses. Tactical assessments that made his teeth ache with their complexity. More importantly, it was showing him what came next if they surrendered. The Korthaks would take the ship. Process the crew. But the real prize wasn't the people, it was the diplomatic intelligence. Trade routes. Alliance structures. Military capabilities of 17 species. Information that would let the hegemony conquer most of the galaxy within a decade. This wasn't a random attack. It was a setup. The third display activated, and Marcus's blood turned to ice water. It showed a schematic of the Meridian itself. Someone had installed illegal modifications throughout the ship. Hidden weapon systems. Shielding upgrades. This diplomatic vessel was actually a disguised warship. A Trojan horse. The hegemony had been planning this for months. Get 17 species representatives on a single ship. Set up a meeting in neutral space. Then, spring the trap. The diplomatic mission was bait, and everyone had walked right into it. Marcus felt sick. But the chair kept feeding him information. Tactical possibilities. The Meridian's hidden weapons were powerful enough to hurt the hegemony ships. Not destroy them, the odds were still impossible, but hurt them enough to matter. If someone was willing to use them. If someone was sitting in the right chair. Marcus looked around the circular chamber. The war throne hummed beneath him, its systems fully integrated with his nervous system now. He could feel the ship around him like his own body. Every system, every weapon, every crew member. The chair had made him part of the vessel. More than that. It had made him its commander. This is insane, Marcus muttered. He was a maintenance worker. He fixed coffee machines. The most dangerous thing he'd ever commanded was a repair crew of 6 people. Now alien technology was trying to turn him into a military commander capable of leading fleets. But, as he watched the bridge display, seeing Captain Rodriguez's helpless expression, Marcus realized something that made his stomach drop. The chair wasn't asking him to become a commander. It was telling him he already was one. The hegemony war throne only activated for someone it recognized as worthy of command. Someone whose neural patterns matched its incredibly specific criteria. Marcus had no idea what those criteria were, but apparently he met them. The galaxy's most advanced military technology had just chosen a human maintenance worker to be its champion. And, outside, 3 hegemony warships were moving into attack position. Marcus took a deep breath. Okay, he said to the empty chamber. Let's see what this thing can do. He reached for the chair's controls, and the war began. The moment Marcus touched the control interfaces, the Meridian came alive around him. Systems that had been dormant for months suddenly activated. Hidden weapon arrays emerged from concealed compartments throughout the ship's hull. Armor plating shifted and locked into combat configuration. The gentle hum of a diplomatic vessel transformed into the aggressive growl of a predator. But, more than that, Marcus could feel the crew's confusion through the ship's internal sensors. 12,000 people suddenly, experiencing their peaceful transport ship becoming something else entirely. Something dangerous. On the bridge display, Captain Rodriguez spun around as her tactical officer called out readings that made no sense. Captain, we're showing weapon systems coming online. Plasma cannons, particle beam arrays, torpedo tubes. None of this should exist on our ship. That's impossible, Rodriguez said. We're a diplomatic vessel. Marcus could have laughed if the situation weren't so deadly. The captain genuinely believed that. She'd been flying a disguised warship for months without knowing it. The level of deception required to pull that off was staggering. Through the Warthrone sensors, Marcus watched the 3 hegemony ships adjust their formation. They'd expected the Meridian to surrender immediately. Instead, their prey had just grown teeth. Warprime Korvash's image appeared on the main display. The Korthak commander was 7 feet of scaled muscle and predatory intelligence. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through sheer brutality and tactical brilliance. Human vessel, Korvash's voice rumbled through the comm system. Your ship shows military modifications. This violates all diplomatic protocols. You will surrender immediately or face destruction. Captain Rodriguez looked around her bridge helplessly. Marcus could see her mind racing, trying to understand how her ship had suddenly become a warship. She opened a channel. Hegemony vessels, this is Captain Rodriguez. We are a diplomatic mission operating under neutral status. We have no hostile intent. Your weapons say otherwise, human. Marcus watched the tactical display as the hegemony ships spread into attack formation. They were beautiful in a deadly way, angular predators designed for nothing but war. Each ship carried enough firepower to glass a continent. 3 of them should have been overkill for any single vessel. Should have been. The Warthrone fed Marcus information about each enemy ship. The lead vessel, Corvash's command ship, was a Devastator-class battlecruiser. Heavy armor, massive weapons, but slower than its escorts. The two flanking ships were Reaper-class destroyers, fast, maneuverable, designed to tear apart smaller vessels with overwhelming firepower. Standard hegemony Wolfpack tactics. The destroyers would come in fast and hard while the battlecruiser provided covering fire. Brutal efficiency that had conquered empires. But Marcus could see their weaknesses too. The chair was showing him things that made his head spin. Tactical algorithms that analyzed thousands of possible combat scenarios in seconds. Weakness assessments that revealed the exact points where each enemy ship was vulnerable. The Reapers had thin armor around their engine housings. Hit them right and they'd lose half their speed. The Devastator's shield generators were positioned to protect against frontal assault but left gaps near the stern. Classic hegemony over confidence. Marcus's hands moved across the controls without conscious thought. The chair was guiding him, teaching him, turning 23 years of maintenance experience into something far more dangerous. He understood these systems because he'd spent his life fixing things that broke. Now he was going to break things that needed fixing. "All right," Marcus muttered. "Let's give them something to think about." He activated the Meridian's targeting systems. Immediately, every hegemony ship lit up with threat indicators. The Warthrone's computers calculated firing solutions with terrifying precision. Marcus could hit them. The question was whether he should. Starting a shooting war with the hegemony would have consequences far beyond this single engagement. But letting them take the ship would be worse. 12,000 lives. 17 species worth of intelligence. And the galaxy would never see the war coming. Marcus made his choice. The Meridian's first salvo lit up the darkness. Plasma bolts and particle beams reached out across space, targeting the lead Reaper's engine housing. The shots were perfect, guided by tactical computers that understood physics in ways that made Marcus's brain ache. The Reaper's shields flared and died. Armor plating vaporized. The destroyer spun out of formation, trailing atmosphere and debris. "First blood to us," Marcus said, then realized he was talking like a soldier instead of a maintenance worker. The Warthrone was changing him. He could feel it happening. Knowledge and instincts that weren't his own settling into his mind like they belonged there. Combat awareness that came from studying 10,000 battles. Tactical thinking that processed information faster than he thought possible. Warprime Corvash's voice roared across the calm system. "Impossible. No diplomatic vessel carries weapons of that caliber." "Surprise," Marcus muttered, then fired again. This time he targeted both remaining ships simultaneously. The Meridian's weapon arrays had been designed by someone who understood hegemony tactics better than the hegemony did. Each shot was calculated to exploit specific weaknesses in their ship designs. The second Reaper tried to evade, but Marcus anticipated the maneuver. His shots caught the destroyer amidships, punching through armor and into critical systems. The ship didn't die, but it limped away from the fight, clearly crippled. Corvash's battlecruiser returned fire with everything it had. The space around the Meridian filled with energy beams and plasma bolts. But the diplomatic ship's hidden armor held. More than held, it absorbed the punishment and asked for more. Through the bridge display, Marcus watched Captain Rodriguez stare at her tactical readings in disbelief. "Shields at 93%, her tactical officer reported. "Armor is holding. Whatever this ship really is, it's built like a fortress." Rodriguez opened an internal comm channel. "This is the captain. All hands, brace for combat maneuvers. I don't know what's happening to our ship, but we're in a fight now." Marcus felt a stab of guilt. Rodriguez was a good captain. She'd kept her crew safe for 3 years, navigating the complex politics of deep space diplomacy. She didn't deserve to have her ship turned into a weapon without her knowledge. But the alternative was worse. Marcus fired again, this time concentrating everything on Corvash's battlecruiser. The Devastator's shields flared under the assault, but held. The ship was tough, built to survive fleet actions. taking it down would require something special. That's when Marcus discovered the Meridian's real secret weapon. Hidden among the ship's tactical systems was something that made his blood run cold. A quantum singularity torpedo. One shot. Experimental technology that could punch through any known armor by briefly creating a micro black hole on impact. Using it would definitely get everyone's attention. Marcus hesitated. The weapon was overkill for this situation. But Corvash wasn't going to give up. The hegemony commander would call for reinforcements. More ships would come. And, eventually, even the Meridian's superior technology wouldn't be enough. Sometimes you had to make a statement. Marcus armed the Singularity torpedo and locked onto Corvash's ship. War Prime, he said, opening a comm channel for the first time. This is the Meridian. You have 10 seconds to withdraw from this system. Corvash's scaled face appeared on the main display, eyes burning with fury. Who are you? What species builds weapons like these? Marcus looked around the War Thrones chamber. At the displays showing him tactical information that boggled his mind. At the technology that had turned him from a maintenance worker into something else entirely. We're human, Marcus said. And we fix things. Including problems like you. He fired the torpedo. The quantum singularity bloomed against Corvash's shields like a miniature star being born and dying in the same instant. Space-time twisted. The battlecruiser's armor didn't just fail, it ceased to exist in any meaningful sense. The massive ship buckled, split, and died in a burst of light that painted the nebula in new colors. Warprime Corvash and 3,000 hegemony warriors vanished into cosmic dust. Silence fell across the battlefield. Marcus stared at the tactical display, watching debris from the destroyed battlecruiser drift through space. The two crippled Reapers were fleeing as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. They'd spread word about what happened here. Word that would change everything. But that wasn't what bothered Marcus. What bothered him was how right it felt. The War Throne hummed beneath him, its systems fully integrated with his nervous system now. He could feel every part of the Meridian like it was his own body. More than that, he could sense other ships at the edge of his awareness. Distant vessels moving through space, their positions and capabilities feeding into the tactical displays around him. The chair was showing him the bigger picture. A galaxy-wide conflict that had been brewing for decades. The hegemony's expansion. Other species choosing sides. Ancient alliances cracking under pressure. And humanity, caught in the middle without really understanding the stakes. Through the bridge display, Marcus watched Captain Rodriguez trying to make sense of what had just happened. Her ship had just destroyed one of the most feared warships in the galaxy using weapons she didn't know existed. Her crew was looking to her for answers she didn't have. Marcus could give her those answers. The War Throne contained information about the conspiracy that had turned the Meridian into a weapons platform. About the forces moving in the darkness beyond known space. About the war that was coming whether anyone wanted it or not. But revealing himself meant explaining how a maintenance worker had ended up in command of technology that could reshape galactic politics. It meant accepting what the chair was trying to make him become. Marcus looked at his hands on the control interfaces. Steady. Confident. Like they belonged there. The chair had given him knowledge, but it had also given him something else. Something that scared him more than the weapons or the tactical algorithms. It had given him the absolute certainty that he was doing the right thing. That was the most dangerous gift of all. The comm system crackled. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the chamber. Unknown Commander, this is Captain Rodriguez. I don't know who you are or how you're controlling my ship, but I need answers. My crew deserves to know what's happening. Marcus stared at the display showing Rodriguez's face. She looked tired. Confused. But not afraid. That was good. He was going to need captains who could handle the truth. Because the truth was that the war had already started. The hegemony had made the first move. And humanity was about to discover that they'd been chosen to make the last one. Marcus opened the comm channel. "Captain Rodriguez," he said. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm about to tell you something that's going to change everything. But first, you should probably sit down." 3 hours later, Marcus sat across from Captain Rodriguez in the Meridian's main conference room. The table between them held data tablets displaying information that redefined everything they thought they knew about their mission. Rodriguez had taken the revelations better than Marcus expected. Learning that her diplomatic vessel was actually a cutting-edge warship built in secret by an alliance of 17 species had shaken her, but she was still functioning. Learning that a maintenance worker was now technically in command of the most advanced ship in the galaxy had nearly broken her brain. But she was adapting. Good officers always did. "So let me make sure I understand this," Rodriguez said, scrolling through the tactical data. The Meridian was built specifically to counter hegemony expansion. The diplomatic mission was cover for field testing the ship's systems. And you accidentally activated the command protocols when you tried to fix a broken cable. "That's the simplified version," Marcus said. "The reality is more complicated." Rodriguez looked up from the tablet. "How could it possibly be more complicated?" Marcus gestured toward the wall display, which now showed a three-dimensional map of local space. Red icons marked hegemony positions. Blue icons showed allied vessels. The pattern was unmistakable. The attack on us wasn't random. It was the opening move of a coordinated offensive. While we were dealing with Corvash, hegemony forces launched simultaneous strikes against 12 other targets. They're not just expanding anymore. They're making their bid for total galactic dominance. The wall display zoomed out, revealing the scope of the hegemony's movements. Entire star systems going dark. Trade routes severed. Communication networks disrupted. It was a masterpiece of strategic planning that had clearly been in development for years. "My God," Rodriguez whispered. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Conservative estimate? 40,000 combat vessels. Maybe more." Rodriguez set down her tablet. "That's not possible. Our intelligence networks would have detected a buildup of that size." "Not if they were building them in dark space," Marcus said. "The chair's showing me sensor data from across the galaxy. The hegemony has been constructing fleets and systems that don't officially exist. Hidden shipyards. Secret military bases. They've been preparing for total war while the rest of the galaxy was focused on trade negotiations and diplomatic protocols." The conference room's comm system activated. "Captain Rodriguez to the bridge," came her executive officer's voice. "We're receiving priority transmissions from multiple sources." Rodriguez stood. "On our way." The bridge was chaos. Communication officers worked frantically to process incoming signals from across known space. Each transmission brought worse news. "Ma'am," the communications officer reported. "The Centauri trade station is gone. Hegemony forces hit it 6 hours ago. No survivors. Proxima colony is under siege," another officer called out. "They're requesting immediate assistance. The vegan defense fleet has been scattered. Admiral Chen is trying to regroup, but most of his ships are destroyed or missing." Marcus felt each report like a physical blow. The galaxy was burning, and there wasn't enough water in the universe to put out the fire. But the War Throne was showing him something else. Something that might matter more than individual battles. "Captain," Marcus said quietly. "I need you to see something." Rodriguez followed him to the tactical station. Marcus activated the long-range sensors, pushing them beyond their normal limits. The War Throne's advanced systems revealed details that should have been impossible to detect at this range. There, Marcus pointed to a cluster of contacts at the edge of sensor range. 73 ships. Mixed Alliance fleet. They're converging on our position. Rodriguez studied the sensor readings. Those are warships. Heavy cruisers, battlecruisers, dreadnoughts. That's not a rescue force, that's a fleet. They're coming because of what we did to Corvash, Marcus explained. Word has spread about the Meridian's capabilities. About the weapon that destroyed a Devastator-class battlecruiser in a single shot. Every species in the galaxy wants to know who built this ship and whether they can trust whoever's commanding it. The first ships arrived within the hour. Marcus watched them emerge from hyperspace through the War Throne's sensors. The CSS Wellington, flagship of the Commonwealth Fleet. The Altarian crystal ship Harmony of Spheres. 3 Proximan destroyers flying in perfect formation. Ships from a dozen different species, all converging on the Meridian's position. But they weren't attacking. They were taking defensive positions around the diplomatic vessel, forming a protective sphere that gradually expanded as more ships arrived. They're forming a battle line, Rodriguez reported from the bridge. Ma'am, we're looking at the largest Allied fleet assembled in over 2 centuries. Marcus felt something shift in the War Throne's systems. New connections were forming. The chair was interfacing not just with the Meridian, but with every Allied ship in the growing formation. Command protocols were activating across multiple vessels. Tactical networks were syncing. The chair had been designed for this. Not just to command one ship, but to coordinate entire fleets. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. Multiple sources. They're requesting to speak with whoever is commanding this vessel. Marcus looked around the War Throne's chamber. The displays now showed tactical information from every ship in the fleet. Weapon systems, shield status, crew complements. He was connected to 73 vessels and over 40,000 personnel from 17 different species. They were all looking to him for leadership. A maintenance worker from Earth who had never commanded anything larger than a repair crew. Marcus opened a fleet-wide communication channel. "This is Commander Chen aboard the Meridian," he said, the title feeling strange in his mouth. "I know many of you are confused about what's happening. I know you have questions about this ship's capabilities and my authority to command this force." He paused, watching the tactical displays as more ships continued to arrive. The fleet was growing every hour as word spread across the galaxy. Soon they would have the largest military force in known space. The truth is, I don't have any official authority. I'm not a trained military commander. 3 days ago, I was fixing environmental control systems and trying to keep coffee machines working. I'm here by accident. Silence filled the comm channels. Marcus could imagine the confusion on 73 bridges as crews tried to process what they just heard. But accidents sometimes reveal truths we didn't want to see. The hegemony has been planning this war for decades. They've built fleets in secret. They've infiltrated our governments and compromised our intelligence networks. They chose the timing of their attack specifically because they believed we were unprepared to respond. Marcus activated the long-range sensors again, sharing the tactical picture with every ship in the fleet. The scope of the hegemony's offensive became clear to everyone simultaneously. They were right. Our governments are unprepared. Our military structures are compromised. Our communication networks are disrupted. If we wait for official responses and authorized commands, the galaxy will be conquered before we can mount an effective defense. More ships were arriving. Marcus could see them on the edge of sensor range, racing toward the growing fleet. The War Throne was coordinating their approach, assigning positions, integrating their systems into the overall defensive network. So we're not going to wait, Marcus continued. We're going to do what needs to be done. Not because we have permission, but because someone has to. Not because we're the best choice, but because we're the only choice available. The comm channels erupted with responses. Some supportive, some questioning, some demanding to know Marcus's qualifications and authorization. He let them argue for a moment, then cut through the noise. I understand your concerns. I share them. But, while we debate authority and protocol, the hegemony is conquering star systems. While we argue about chains of command, entire civilizations are being enslaved. We can discuss my qualifications after we save the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Voss of the Commonwealth Fleet was the first to respond.
Commander Chen, this is Admiral Voss aboard the Wellington. What are your intentions for this fleet? Marcus looked at the tactical displays surrounding him.
The Allied force now numbered over 90 ships, with more arriving every hour. It was an impressive sight, but it was also chaotic. Vessels from different species operating under different protocols, using incompatible communication systems, following contradictory tactical doctrines. But the War Throne was solving those problems in real time.
Creating unified command structures. Translating orders across language barriers.
Synchronizing weapons systems that had never been designed to work together.
Admiral Voss, my intention is to turn this collection of ships into a functional fleet.
Then, we're going to find the largest hegemony formation we can locate and remove it from existence. Sir, another voice joined the conversation.
Captain Tala of the Proximan Destroyer Squadron. Our governments have not authorized offensive operations against the hegemony.
We are here for defensive purposes only.
Marcus understood the concern. Military officers followed orders.
They operated within established command structures. What he was proposing violated every regulation and protocol in the book.
Captain Tala, how many Proximan colonies have been attacked in the last 12 hours? A pause. 7, sir. But, how many more will be attacked while we debate authorization?
Marcus pulled up the strategic display, highlighting hegemony movements throughout Proximan space. Their forces were advancing on 3 fronts, systematically destroying any resistance they encountered.
The hegemony didn't wait for authorization before they started this war.
If we wait for permission to fight back, we'll be fighting from our graves. The tactical situation was becoming clearer with each passing hour.
The hegemony strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Strike fast, strike hard, destroy command and control capabilities before organized resistance could form.
It was working perfectly.
Except here.
The growing fleet around the meridian represented something the hegemony hadn't planned for.
An improvised alliance forming faster than official governments could react.
Ships and crews choosing to fight based on principle rather than orders.
All ships, this is Commander Chen, Marcus broadcast across the fleet. I'm uploading tactical data to your navigation systems.
We have confirmed locations of 3 hegemony strike groups within our operational range.
Each group represents approximately 20 vessels engaged in offensive operations against civilian targets.
The War Throne calculated optimal attack vectors for each target.
Strike force compositions that would maximize damage while minimizing losses. Timing sequences that would allow the fleet to hit all 3 groups simultaneously.
I'm offering each of you a choice, Marcus continued. Return to your home systems and wait for official orders. Or stay here and help me turn this fleet into something that can make the hegemony regret starting this war.
The responses came quickly.
Too quickly for official consultation with governments or military high command. These were individual decisions made by captains and crews who had seen enough.
Wellington confirms. We're with you, Commander.
Harmony of Spheres agrees to participate.
Proximan Squadron ready for combat operations.
One by one, every ship in the fleet confirmed their commitment.
Not because they had been ordered to, but because they chose to. Because sometimes the right thing to do was also the unauthorized thing to do.
Marcus felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders.
94 ships. 60,000 personnel. The largest independent military force in galactic history, all looking to a maintenance worker for leadership.
The War Throne hummed beneath him, its systems fully integrated with the entire fleet now. He could feel every ship like an extension of his own body. Every weapon system, every shield generator, every crew member. The technology was turning him into something beyond human comprehension. But he was still Marcus Chen. Still the guy who fixed things when they broke. And the galaxy was definitely broken. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump, Marcus commanded. We have a war to win. The fleet moved as one, 94 vessels disappearing into hyperspace like a school of mechanical fish. Behind them, the Kepler Nebula returned to its ancient silence. But the silence wouldn't last long. The hegemony was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons or their military traditions. It was their absolute refusal to accept that some problems couldn't be fixed.